Right now, we can just jump into the platform and I will show you step by step in 2024 how to scale an ad campaign like a pro. All right, let's jump in. We have $32 a day, which is really small. So what we want to do, we want to have two ad sets. I usually start with one broad targeting, one interest targeting. I usually don't start with a lookalike audience, even if I have a big list of people, because if you're running ads for a while, you will understand the performance of the lookalike audiences are kind of going down, which is unfortunate. But most of the ad accounts and people are telling me that as well. We've been observing this. Like the lookalike performance is going down, down, down. Like even though you're doing website lookalikes, purchase lookalikes, even you're uploading your listed values, that's still the case. So what we want to do around that mark, $1,000 a month mark, we don't want to split test anything yet. So you don't have that budget to split test anything, guys. Don't should I split test the background color? No, that is a really hyper specific split test. So what I would do at this stage, two ad sets, one interest targeting, one broad targeting, and I will have some of the creative styles. And each ad set, I will not put more than four creative. In this case, we're going to be spending 16 bucks an ad set, and 16 bucks an ad set is going to be really small. So like if you can start with three ad sets, doesn't really matter, but I wouldn't put less than a $10 under one ad set. That is my choice, and most of the advertisers I work with and talk to, they never go below 15 per ad set. Like some of the dumb ones put like $4 an ad set, which doesn't make any sense, and you don't see any results. I maybe in a certain case, if it's a retargeting campaign and you have no chance to scale that account, you're targeting, let's say, a small radius, maybe. Anyways, we're not split testing anything. We're just gonna have some broad idea of what type of creatives we're gonna run. I usually go with these four creatives. One user generated content, doesn't really matter the hook, the style, the whatever. I'll just put something out there. A podcast style creative. This is big, guys. If you're watching this right now in 2024, 2025, this is big. Like a lot of people, and I've been seeing amazing results with podcast style creatives. As a guy who tested like hundreds of user generated creatives, guys, it's crazy. And then us versus them, static. Go ahead with this, and two copy variation on each. So you know how I do not create another ad, just put the variation underneath that. And when I have $32 a day, I don't even think about retargeting, guys. This is a big one as well. Do not think about retargeting. The pixel, you don't have that data to retarget anyways. Let's say you have a huge account and they're giving you a test, then you might think of retargeting, like a performance test kind of. But then it's a rare case. Most of you like not in this situation. So I'll keep this until I'm profitable, right? If you're not profitable, there's no way you're going to increase the budget. Like you don't even think about. Say you're breaking even at 1.9, 2 ROAS, then I will start increasing the budget. And at this point, people go crazy. Oh, don't increase the budget like more than 10%, 15%. Like if you get into a learning, you change something, you will get out of the learning phase. Guys, with this budget, you're not out of the learning phase anyways. So you don't have to worry about learning. Learning occurs, by the way, they're changing how the learning phase happens. They rolled this in some ad accounts. Some ad accounts it's not rolled in yet. How they do it is you need to have a 50 conversion action. Let's say you're optimizing towards purchases. You can optimize towards traffic, link clicks, but I don't suggest that. If you optimize towards purchases, you need to have 50 purchases in approximately 1 week, 10 days ish. But you're not going to have that, right? If you're doing purchase, which I suggest you do purchase as a conversion optimization event, you're not going to have that. So you can double the budget here if you're profitable. If you have 3 ROAS, 9 ROAS, 10 ROAS, just double the budget, guys. You're not out of the learning phase, so you're not gonna get back into the learning phase again. Don't worry about it. Just double. So at this stage, you can just increase the budget however you like. There's no learning happening here, like no learning whatsoever. Say now you double the budget, you have $2,000 budget. What are you gonna do? That makes $64 a day. Now we have to pause the underperforming ads and ad sets. So now say we had 2 ad sets and there's the broad targeting is not performing, there's no written rule that it's gonna perform really, really well. I was watching Professor T yesterday. He was saying broad targeting, broad targeting, broad targeting. That comes with, if you are only working with e-commerce brands, you get this narrow idea that, oh, that works amazing, but not on lead generation, for instance. I'm not saying it doesn't work on lead generation, but on certain niches, certain ad accounts, broad targeting will simply not work. That is the case. On some ad accounts, that will beat every other interest. So it's case by case basis. It might not work sometimes. So you just have to kill it, right? If it's not profitable, pause it. Maybe try it again once you have a lot more data or a lot more budget. You have to test, guys. At this budget, again, I don't suggest you have more than 3 ad sets at a time. So it's going to be, say, 3 ad sets, 21 bucks a day ish. So I don't really suggest 4 ad sets, 5 ad sets, never. So you're not going to get enough data in a short amount of time. And now we can introduce more ads, right? Why? I said first in the beginning, don't have more than 4 ads under 1 ad set. But in this case, we're pausing the ones that are not performing, right? So let's say you killed just 1 ad is performing great. You killed the rest. There's only 1 ad getting the purchases. You kill the rest of the ads. That's cool. And 2 of the ad sets are profitable. So you keep them. There's no hard feelings. You keep those. Now we're moving on. What type of ads now you can introduce? We have lifestyle, benefits, just big benefits headline. You can introduce GIFs, animations, some other UGC. UGC blend with testimonials. Testimonials, they work great on top of funnel as well. Don't worry about it. So if you're not profitable under these conditions, you have to test new ad sets and ads until you get there. So you got to be stuck in this universe until you find that winning creative format, winning creative, or maybe the winning product. It could be the product, right? Maybe you're promoting the wrong product of your whole collection, and you have to be finding something that is visually appealing. The one that you're selling great on Google Ads might not be the product that you're going to sell great on Facebook Ads. So if you're great, performing really, really well here as well, just double the budget again. You're not going to be out of the learning phase anyways. It will say learning, but it's going to be a significant edit once you add new ads anyway. So still, you're going to get out of the learning phase anyway. So people think the budget increase is the only thing that you get out of the learning phase. No, pausing ads, making changes you're targeting, introducing new ads, they all count as a significant change, significant edit. So they're gonna take you out of the learning phase anyways. Let's go down. So we are at, let's say, 5K. Now we're getting somewhere, right? $161 a day. Now we are at a point where learning can occur. So the learning can happen and occur in let's say, here as well. But you have to use, let's say, landing page views, right? So the key here is optimization events. So if you can get 50 optimization events in a week, in 10 days, you will get out of the learning phase, no problem. But is it what you want? No. 50 purchases in 1 week or 10 days. But that has to be happening under 1 ad set. So are you going to be able to have that here? Less likely, depending on the product you have. So if you are still none of the ad sets audiences, that's also one of the reasons why we don't want to scatter out, test too many ad sets at the same time. That's why we don't want to do it. So in this case, let's imagine let's say 1 ad set is performing great, $161. You're getting more than 50 conversion events in 10 days, which is achievable. I've seen cases like that. Then you want to get to a point, set a rule, maybe you increase the ad set budget or the campaign budget. I usually say ad set budget by 15 to 10%, no more than that. So then you get out of the learning phase. That is the part where you have to worry about the learning again. And there are some advertisers, they think learning is a myth, doesn't matter, nothing happens, so on and so forth. Anyways, this is a discussion for another point. At this point, I set a rule again. Depends on the ad account. I sometimes manually go in and edit. So when you hit a certain ROAS goal in the ad set, set a rule to increase the budget by 10%. Wait 3 days or 4 days. increase it. So it's gonna take time. You're not gonna overnight get to like 100K budget right away. It's not gonna happen. It might happen, but you're gonna see a huge dip. If you don't want to see that dip, this is the way to do it. We're gonna get to the 100K, guys. We're just at 5K. Just so stick with me. We're gonna get there. At this stage, totally up to you. I wouldn't. You can introduce a retargeting ad set. You can put it in the ad set or in a separate campaign. Totally up to you. There's no one written way to do it. 10 to 15% of the budget, no more than that. 10 to 15% of your budget, go ahead. Now you should overall have an understanding what style of creatives work really well for your brand, right? I work with brands. It's a simple t-shirt brand. UGC don't do shit. They don't do shit, right? But for some reason, like heavily edited movie scenes, hardcore style animations work amazingly well. So you have to find that creative style for your brand. Maybe just statics, they work great. You find that style, maybe us versus them. Is it the creative style that is just working really, really well? Find that creative style, and you will have a good understanding. And here, ideally, a majority of the budget should be on broad. As I said, on some cases, broad do not work. I told you the reason. So you keep it with a grain of salt. If it is working great, you should be pushing the budget on broad. But if it is for some reason you test it, still broad is like underperforming, don't touch broad. Test other stuff. You can test lookalikes, interest, demographics, all sorts of stuff. Let's go down. Now, by the way, we're at a stage. This is the stage where it takes the longest. 15% increase every 30 days. In some cases, you're going to hit a certain ROAS bracket. We're going to stay there for months, which is okay. There's also different strategies: horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, just upping the budget. But I see a big dip, or you can just duplicate the campaigns or ad sets like 5 times, 6 times. This is called horizontal scaling, which I will talk about in a different module. Let's go down. Let's say you slowly increase, and you get to a point where you're at 10K. 10K a month, which is a good budget, like pretty good budget. So you're spending $322 a day, which is, if it's coming out of your pocket, it's good money. So no creative testing yet. What were we doing though before this, right? We were introducing some creatives. Are those creative testing? Sort of, but I'm talking about proper A/B split testing. These ones, the previous ones, we were just rolling new creative styles into the ad sets, hoping it sticks. Let's see, try something big components. Like we were actually pushing different style. Like, let's try a carousel, let's try this, let's try that. We were just trying to find a winning creative style. After we found a winning creative style, now let's say if you already found a winning creative style and you come to this point really, really fast, now you can actually do it. But I still do not suggest that. Still, we're testing the creatives, meaning testing inside the ad set. We're not setting a separate creative testing campaign, which is going to be a different one, and I will explain it in depth. Still keep the retargeting budget at 10 to 15%, which will be ideal. Now we would have more data to push an Advantage Plus shopping campaign. Of course, if you're in e-commerce, yeah, that will work really well. In this case, I will put, of course, like three. There's a caveat here. Advantage Plus shopping campaigns work really well with abundance of creatives. That's why I don't have a rule. Even if you want to roll a $10 a day Advantage Plus campaign, you can put more than 5 creatives. That is only the case for Advantage Plus, though. So we still have the rule going there in this case. Increase the budget 10 to 15%. If you still are not out of the learning phase, but you are extremely profitable, you can still double the budgets. Like, there, you can double the budget. Don't worry about the learning, because if you are not out of the learning phase, you think you're not gonna get that 50 conversion actions, just don't worry about it. Double the budget. It's not gonna hit your performance. Now we come to 20K. $644 a day. Now you should be out of the learning phase unless you're selling something really high ticket. So now we have gonna do a proper A/B testing, creative testing. Now we're gonna put $100 into a proper creative testing campaign, like a proper creative. What do I mean by proper? You're gonna have one campaign, 2 ad sets. Under each ad set, you're gonna target broad, no audience at all. I know even if you broad targeting doesn't work for you, the creative testing has to be broad targeting. And then under broad targeting, you're gonna do exact same targeting. You're gonna have the exact same copy, exact same headline, exact same CTA, exact same landing page. You're gonna just change this, whatever the case may be. In this case, let's say a static and a headline. You change testing the headline. Now you can test specific things, big elements. Let's say if it's a video, you want to test hooks. If it's a static, you want to change headlines or unique selling propositions. You want to test those, maybe different offers, right? That could work as well. So do not do a test where you do a background color testing, like super minute, right? Like it wouldn't give you a great result. In this case, we're literally giving the exact same budget, exact same audience, and seeing which one at the end of, let's say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks is going to have better performance, like lower cost per acquisition, higher number of purchases, bigger ROAS, whatever the KPI you have is. Now, what I want to do is I want to switch to campaign budget optimizations. Till this point, I usually like to have the control, and I want to still control with some ad sets usually die off and I kill them right away. But you can still pause it in campaign budget optimization, but I prefer to switch to campaign budget optimization right here. So we have the rule again, don't increase the budget more than 10 to 15%, but it's now in the campaign level since we switched to CBO. So now we switch to CBO. That is our main campaign we're focusing on. And what we're going to do now is going to be interesting. Well, so you might be thinking, Jim, what are we going to do with this scaling campaign? Sorry, the A/B testing, creative testing campaign. You're going to take the winners and you're going to roll those into the main scaling campaign. There's a thing, guys, but you have to be careful. Your winners out of those creative testing campaigns are not going to be top performers in your main campaigns. Sometimes they're going to be the worst performers. Don't freak out. This happened to me a couple of times. So this happens. Now we are at 50K. This is a serious budget. Like, to come here, guys, you have to spend a lot of time here. A lot of creative testing. As I said, test big elements, hooks, big like creative styles, maybe like a lifestyle image or just a photo shoot image or blah blah blah. Unique selling propositions, whatever you have unique for your product. Test those. Different testimonials. Now to come here from this to this, it's probably gonna take you 3 months, minimum 2 months, maximum 6 months. I've seen some brands taking a lot longer. Anyways, we're here. What we want to do is we want to double the budget on the creative testing campaign. That is going to be huge because we want to speed things up now. So we want to conduct 2 tests a week. So we're testing a lot of stuff now. We're testing hooks, let's say, and after you spend a lot of time here, you know some hooks are working really well. Now you want to test the body. Now you want to test the call to action. Now you want to test if you click the button now, you're going to get this free thing. That is going to be like the benefit hook-ish, sorry, benefit call to action-ish something. Now also you can have, in addition to your scaling campaign, multiple Advantage Plus campaigns. And in those multiple Advantage Plus campaigns, you can test certain product groups. And I will usually put a separate catalogs if it's a shopping campaign, of course, meaning you're an e-commerce brand. I would put multiple different catalogs, right, promoting a different product ranges because you have a significant budget here right now at this stage. Not huge, not amazing, but a significant budget. Now you can push those different Advantage Plus shopping campaigns with different product lines, specifically focusing on those. Now you can like dissect that scaling a little bit, so you actually do not push only one winning product, try to find other winning products as well. As I said, if you like put the winner out of those creative tests, you roll those into Advantage Plus shopping or scaling, it's not gonna be performing really well all the time, which is, you don't freak out if that happens, which usually happens. And also what I'm gonna do, still you can introduce some lookalike audiences, but when scaling with e-commerce brands, I don't see great performance of lookalike audiences. And do not ever have a separate campaign full of lookalikes. Just doesn't make sense. And what I usually do with lookalikes, guys, if you push more than 500 a day in one lookalike ad set, it usually doesn't perform. Lookalikes usually perform on a low budget for some reason. I don't know why. Comment below if you've seen or experienced otherwise. Focus on testing more elements on creative. What is this? Now we can test CTAs. Now we can test the colors. We're getting to that point now. We can dissect it a little bit. Now you can test the carousels. Now you can test, like, if I put this in the first slide of the carousel, it works better, kind of things. Again, don't introduce this. Doesn't mean having this budget. It doesn't mean having, you can introduce like 10 separate creatives at once under one ad set. This is the biggest mistake I see. And I'm guilty of this, guys. I still sometimes do it. Like if I get a good new batch of creatives, I like get so excited and then roll them into one ad set, and then suddenly the performance dies right away. Like that shouldn't be done. Never introduce 10 new ads into one ad set, existing ad set. And if it's a scaling ad set, it's going to kill the performance right away. For some reason, the algorithm tries to spend in all of them, and then your existing performing creatives will, it won't be able to spend to that, and then to having that core, possible buyers, they're going to start to scattergun approach that new creatives. So your top performer is not going to show to those ready to buy low hanging fruit audiences. It's just going to go into a mess. You might be asking, Jim, what about the warm audiences? What about targeting add to carts? What about, targeting people who initiated checkout but didn't buy? Guys, we're in 2024. It's almost 2025. You are not in 2016 Facebook ads. It doesn't work. I mean, feel free to do it, but those are leaky buckets. I talked about this in one of the other videos I have about Facebook ads and retargeting. So what you should do, the retargeting campaign is going to stack everything. Add to carts, initiated checkout, people who purchased. Because I also, if even if it's a super big brand, like spending $500, 500K a month, I still do it. I usually, what do I do? I do repeat purchases as well. I throw them in to the same retargeting campaign, so they still get those ads. They still get served those ads. I don't exclude the people who already bought, right? So I still get more purchases. It's not a big deal, depending on if the client says, I don't want to do repeat purchases. My only goal is, new customer acquisition. Then I start excluding. But it's not. I'm not a big fan of that exclusions. Like unless the client, because if the Shopify backend will give you the best results, and then you will see the best results if you stop excluding those audiences. But if, as I said, if the goal is new client acquisition, it's a different story. And we're going down. Now we are at almost the final stage. 70K to 100K. We are at 3,000 and a quarter. So we can now, at this stage, to increase the budget, duplicate if you want to aggressively scale it, you're really profitable, which is really rare. But I do use that strategy still to this day, which was really popular in 2019. People were like duplicating the top performing audiences like 10 times, 5 times. It was kind of a glitch. You still used to give, so you don't, if you increase the budget, it just kills the performance for some reason, and then you duplicate it. It was performing really good back then, but now if you have a small budget and use that technique, it doesn't work. Now what I do is, if I have this point and I have this top performing, audiences, and I don't want to, and the scaling campaign, I don't touch this. I just duplicate the campaign, the scaling campaign, 3 times, 4 times, sometimes in a separate campaign, of course. So I will have 4 separate scaling campaigns, and I can adjust the budget on each of those. And one of those are going to be working most likely out of, like, if you duplicate it 5 times, 4 times, like 3 of them are not going to be top performing, but I need that one. So they're the same ones, but for some reason, one of them performs, the rest dies. I'm going to keep that one. So I basically double my budget there. If I'm at, of course, not all of my budget on one, but let's say I'm spending 20K on that campaign, it's now 40K extra. I just jumped the budget and didn't hurt the performance. And also, now we're bumping the creative tests 3 a week. So we're actively testing separate stuff every single week. 3 different separate stuff, actually. So that is what we're doing. And now we can test small. Now you get to the point where you want to test the backgrounds, the fonts, the music in the background, the headline. Now you can do this test wholeheartedly. Now this is how you get to this point, guys. Also, there's different ways to, of course, approach this topic. It's not like written. I shared my experiences. If you find this helpful, please do share, especially on LinkedIn. LinkedIn really helps me, guys, if you share this on LinkedIn, because people on LinkedIn, They like to learn stuff, right? And that's what I do. I teach stuff. All right. Hopefully it was helpful, guys. See you in the next one. Bye bye.